Tonight, recovering after a freak accident.
Around 6:30 in the morning, I woke up to her screaming and the tree on top of me.
One man's road to recovery after a tree falls on top of him and his daughter. Also tonight, taking RCMP to court. Why a Portage La Prairie man is seeking compensation 1 year after serious charges against him were stayed. Plus, getting physical over safety.
We're looking for ways to defend ourselves in case we're in a precarious place.
How the Postal Union says its members should be able to protect themselves as violence on the job remains a concern.
CTV News. Live from downtown Winnipeg with Marilee Caruso.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. A Manitoba man has survived a horrific camping disaster. A tree fell on Eric Lee Sheed's tent at an Ontario campground. He says he woke up to his 11-year-old daughter screaming beside him and the tree on top of him. The 37-year-old Tyndall man is in hospital tonight with a broken pelvis and ruptured bladder. CTV's Jeff Keel spoke with him from his hospital bed today and joins us now live. So, Jeff, how did they escape the tent?
Quick thinking from a nearby camper who used his knife to tear the tent open and then sliced Lescheid's air mattress, which set him free. From his hospital bed, Eric Lescheid recalls the freak accident at an Ontario campground.
All of a sudden, I felt a large thump, and that was the tree on top of me.
The 37-year-old from Tyndall, Manitoba, was camping at Blue Lake, Ontario last Thursday. His boys, 5 and 9, bunked with Grandma and Grandpa in a camper. Eric and his 11-year-old daughter pitched a tent.
Because there wasn't as much room in the campers.
Eric says it started raining hard during the night, and around 6:30 in the morning, the tree crashed on their tent with Dad and daughter inside.
I woke up to her screaming and the tree on top of me. And I started screaming, she started screaming.
A camper from another site cut through the tent with a knife and got his daughter out unharmed. But Eric, lying on his side, was pinned. Eric's father started piling wood under the tree to lift it up, and the camper sliced Eric's air mattress.
And I pushed myself from underneath the tree and knew immediately my hip was broken, or how pelvis was broken.
He was airlifted to Health Sciences Centre. The pelvis broken in 3 places, along with a ruptured bladder. Even with the injuries, his wife Jennifer says they are feeling lucky, knowing the outcome could have been a lot worse.
God's heavenly protection was just, never been more palpable than that day.
While rare, tragedies like this do occur. In 2023, 60-year-old Melville McIntyre was killed in Manitoba. And in 2013, a camper from Quebec died when a tree fell on his tent at Falcon Lake. As for the Lescheids, the couple says their children are doing well despite the ordeal, but they are done with tenting.
My daughter doesn't want to go in a tent anymore.
That will be something that's off their bucket list of things to do.
We'll just go to the camper from now on.
A GoFundMe page has been set up for the family as Eric faces months of rehab. We can tell you that Eric was able to get up himself and walk with a walker outside of his hospital room for the first time this afternoon. Jennifer says there are lots of tears of joy today.
Wow, just remarkable. Jeff, do we know why this tree fell?
Eric says the tree that fell on his tent appeared healthy, no signs that anything was wrong. It may just be the amount of moisture and wind from the storm could have pulled it right out of the ground. He says there were other trees down in the campground too. Well,
glad to hear they will be okay. Thanks for this, Jeff. The family of a Norwegian hiker whose body was recovered Sunday in the far north says an autopsy shows the man drowned. A family spokesperson says police told the family Stefan Schutelvik's autopsy is complete and he drowned. The 29-year-old was on a cross-continental journey of the Canadian wilderness when he set out on foot from Fort Severn in Ontario to York Factory, Manitoba. Investigators have said Schutelvik may have tried to cross the swift-moving Hayes River and got swept away. His family is preparing to travel to Canada to bring his body home and meet some of the people who searched for him. A man who was wrongfully charged following a child sex trafficking investigation last year is taking RCMP to court. CTV's Catherine Dow is following the case and joins us now to explain. Catherine, what's the basis for this lawsuit?
Well, Marilee, in court documents, Scott Taylor says he suffered verbal and physical assaults after being named as a suspect in the disturbing case. And he says it should have been fairly easy for investigators to realize he was not the person they were looking for.
I had to hide. I had to go in hiding. Literally had to go in hiding, and my house was vandalized. I had so many death threats, like endless amount of threats. I'm scared.
Taylor spoke with us last summer, sporting a black eye he had recently received after he was charged with obtaining sexual services for consideration from a person under 18. His house, which he has since left out of fear for his safety, was also spray painted with the words "certified pedo." About 2 weeks later, the charges were stayed, and RCMP issued a corrected statement to media and the public. In his statement of claim, Taylor alleges a complainant told police one of the suspects had his name, but also had a beard, worked for Canadian National Railway, and had lived with the complainant's mother. Taylor says none of that evidence applies to him aside from the name, which he says is fairly common. And investigators should have figured out that before arresting him and making the charges public. The Attorney General of Canada is also named as a defendant, as Taylor's suit says the Crown prosecutor should have stayed the charges sooner. He is seeking unspecified damages for mental suffering, loss of income, legal fees, and general damages.
So, Catherine, what do the defendants have to say about this?
Well, Marilee, the Attorney General deferred those questions to RCMP, who told CTV News they could not comment as the matter is before the court.
All right. Thanks for this, Catherine.
You're welcome.
The family of a teenage boy who drowned at Cindy Clausen Recreation Complex is suing the city of Winnipeg and a number of lifeguards, claiming they each had a duty to protect the boy but failed to do so. 14-year-old Adam Sarita Paul drowned last April. His parents, grandparents, and aunt are suing the city and 4 unnamed lifeguards, seeking more than $100,000 in damages from each. According to a statement of claim filed in the Manitoba Court of King's Bench, Sarita Paul was discovered at the bottom of the pool's dive tank by one of the lifeguards on duty. The suit alleges the city and its licensed lifeguards were negligent and breached their statutory duty by failing to adequately supervise and guard the teen, which caused his death. Additionally, the documents claim the city also failed to have an adequate number of lifeguards on duty that day. The city has not filed a statement of defense. In an email, though, to CTV News, the city says it is aware of the statement of claim, but is declining to comment further as the matter is before the courts. The union representing postal workers in Winnipeg wants Canada Post to provide safety training. It follows an attack on a mail carrier over the weekend in Waverly Heights. And as CTV's Joseph Bernacki shows you, the union hopes self-defense training could help keep mail carriers safer on their routes.
On any given day, postal workers could face any number of dangers, be it dogs, slippery roads, and increasingly, people.
Over the past 12 months or so, we've had 12 incidents of carriers being attacked in various states and places, every area of the city, with various circumstances, different levels of severity.
Sean Tugby, the local president of the Postal Workers Union, says while confrontations on the job are rare, postal carriers want self-defense training. The union believes that could be a less invasive approach to a confrontation rather than carrying a weapon.
I think it's a skill, that necessary skill that most people should have. We're looking for ways to defend ourselves in case we're in a precarious place.
Michael Tavares owns Gracie Jiu-Jitsu and started teaching martial arts in 2012. Tavares says the skills learned in Jiu-Jitsu are very practical for self-defense and could be learned by anyone.
You don't need to be a competitor or an athlete to do this. You just need to know a series of techniques that is going to be simple to do.
Tavares says a couple weekends of training with regular follow-up learning every few years should help someone defend themselves while on the job. It's all part of an effort to boost an individual's self-confidence and their spatial awareness.
Making the job more enjoyable, learning how to even prevent and see situations arising that they could avoid much more easy and clear.
In a statement to CTV News, a spokesperson from Canada Post says their employees are equipped with tools and receive regular safety training on de-escalation and self-removal from dangerous situations. Local operational leaders and employees are also empowered to decide whether to temporarily stop deliveries if they do not feel safe in certain situations. Sean Tugby says more can be done to keep their letter carriers safe on the job.
We should be able to work safely no matter what season it is.
Joseph Bernacki, CTV News, Winnipeg.
Winnipeg saw the highest number of people experiencing homelessness at a single time last fall than in the past 10 years. That's according to End Homelessness Winnipeg, which just released the results of last November's annual street census. The organization says 2,469 people were unhoused at that time, which is the most since tracking began in 2015. The report says the majority were men between the ages of 30 and 49, and most had been homeless for more than 6 months. The vast majority, nearly 8 in 10, were Indigenous. End Homelessness Winnipeg is hosting a media conference Thursday, along with government representatives, to go over the findings. The window to sign up for swimming and skating lessons opened at 8 this morning, and demand was fierce. The city says by noon, 87% of the available swimming lesson spots had already been taken. Fall skating lessons are 71% full. In total, more than 13,000 registrations have been made for fall and winter activities. Registration is still ongoing, and people living outside the city will get their chance to sign up on Thursday. All right, let's bring Colleen Brady now and get a first look at your Skywatch evening forecast. You found summer because, boy, did it ever return today.
We found the switch and we flicked it on today, folks, because, boy, did we heat right up into the upper 20s across the south. We got very close to 28 degrees at the Forks. Emerson, 29. Brandon up there around 27, 28 degrees. And it will be warm again tomorrow, but we'll be contending with some north winds. I will show you why coming up. But the night ahead, first of all, should be quite lovely. You can see, though, the winds are coming at a good clip there, coming out of the south-southwest, but overall fairly clear conditions. And then I'll have a look ahead to the Labor Day long weekend forecast. It will feel very much like summer, though the end of that weekend will mark the first day of meteorological fall. More coming up on that. Take a look. Let's take a look right now, through the Bathfitter Live Eye. Bathfitter, your bath and shower experts for more than 40 years. In Winnipeg right now, it's 27. It feels like 31. Winds light out of the west. The pressure's falling, and the humidity merely is 45%.
Thanks, Colleen. Prime Minister Mark Carney says the federal government will be spending $500 billion on energy, port, and intelligence infrastructure in the near future. And that spending, he says, will effectively help create a new port in Churchill.
It unlocks, as you just said, LNG. It unlocks, and I salute Premier Canu's initiative here, it unlocks major Indigenous leadership and participation. It potentially unlocks pathways for critical minerals and links into Europe.
Carney was speaking as he continues his tour of Europe. His comments were in response to a question about what Canada could realistically offer European countries in terms of energy, given the state of the development of ports and pipelines in Canada.
So as the federal government and the Prime Minister are moving forward, thinking about how are we going to get our resources to markets, using that tidewater that we have in northern Manitoba, building up the infrastructure to sustain future generations, and doing that with respect for the environment, it's a real win-win opportunity for us to build up our country that we love so much.
We'll have more on the Prime Minister's diplomatic meetings in Germany a little later, including some potentially big-ticket military hardware. Voters in Spruce Woods are heading to the polls tonight in a provincial by-election. Polls are open until 8 o'clock. The seat has been empty since March, when Grant Jackson stepped down to run for the federal Conservatives. Spruce Woods has long been a stronghold for the Progressive Conservatives, who have never won less than 60% of the vote. But this time, the governing NDP is entering the race with some momentum, riding high in province-wide opinion polls and making a series of promises in the area. The result won't change the balance of power, though, at the legislature. The NDP holds a comfortable 34 seats compared to the Tories' 20. You can watch for the by-election results tonight on our website. Just go to ctvwinnipeg.ca. You can also tune into CTV News at 11:30 for the results. Mounties are searching for two suspects who they say impersonated RCMP officers in an attempt to break into someone's home. It happened on the evening of August 8th on Royal Road in Portage La Prairie. Investigators say the pair first told the residents they were officers and to open the door. When that didn't work, they tried to force their way in before giving up and driving off in a white sedan. RCMP have now issued an arrest warrant for 27-year-old Christian Meaches of Long Plain First Nation. They're also looking to identify the man on the right-hand side of your screen who was wearing a white hoodie at the time. Anyone with information is asked to call Portage RCMP or Crime Stoppers. A Manitoba mother is asking for help tonight solving the homicide of her son 2 years ago. 25-year-old Lyndon McIver went missing after a night out with friends on this day in 2023 on Lake Manitoba First Nation. His body was found in a wooded area in the community 5 days later. His death has been deemed a homicide, and the investigation remains ongoing. Lyndon's mother tells CTV News it's been a long 2 years waiting for answers.
Some days I don't sleep at night. I don't know, I pray every day that somebody says something. Because today is 2 years and I still don't know what happened to him.
McIver is being remembered as a helpful man who loved life and especially loved his 2 young sons. Anyone with information on the investigation is asked to call RCMP. A new survey suggests strong support for 3 methods to improve nurse recruitment and retention in our province. The findings are detailed in a Leger survey commissioned by the College of Registered Nurses of Manitoba. 1,600 registered nurses or nurse practitioners were polled for the survey. Respondents were most in favor of addressing workplace conditions, followed by boosting support for new nurses and increasing the number of seats for nursing programs.
I think what we have to do as a regulator is understand how we support employers and those nurses and others in making sure that the training that they get really does help them, build that broad level of understanding they need to be an effective care provider.
The online survey took place between June 1st and the 11th. No margin of error can be assigned with non-random samples. Submarines and critical minerals on the agenda as the Prime Minister continues his European tour. The Europeans are pitching him on some new submarines, but what would Canada need in return? Those details when we return. Taking a look at the markets tonight, crude oil lost $1.50. The Canadian dollar is nearly unchanged. Gold added $15. The TSX gained 169 points. The Dow Jones rose 135 points, while the Nasdaq is up 94 points. Mark Carney was busy on the international stage today, committing to extending Canada's NATO mission in Latvia for 3 years and pursuing new economic and military cooperation with Europe. And as CTV's Abigail Beeman reports, it includes a big-ticket item.
Prime Minister Mark Carney tours a shipyard. The German-Norwegian consortium TKMS is pitching Canada to buy its submarines.
Our subs are quieter than Canadian Snowfall, but tougher than a player in the Stanley Cup final.
In Berlin, the government announced it's narrowed its search for up to 12 new submarines to 2 companies, this one and South Korea's Hanwha.
It's not about buying the big shiny object from the showroom floor. It's about how you are going to sustain that capability over what will probably end up being 30 to 40 years.
Canada's submarine fleet is so old it will be decommissioned by 2035. Senior government officials describe the situation as having some urgency.
We need to be able to have year-round fleets in all 3 coasts under quite demanding conditions. So that's how the field narrows quite quickly.
In addition to tricky technical requirements, the government wants a purchase as massive as this one to have an equal investment in Canada.
Really positive indication with this announcement today, which is atypical for the way Canada has generally approached big procurements, and based on a project budget that could get into like $100 billion range. This could end up being the single most expensive and largest defense acquisition that we've ever undertaken.
TKMS's CEO said they were open to building in Canada, which would be a first.
The customer is always right? So if they want or demand for special, let's say, reasons to build them in Canada, we would also be able for that.
Wednesday, the Prime Minister will meet Canadian troops here in Latvia. Tonight, he announced he will extend the NATO mission Canada leads here by another 3 years. Abigail Beeman, CTV News, Riga.
The Canada-U.S. trade minister was in Washington today. Dominic LeBlanc met with Trump's top economic advisor, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. The talks are said to have been constructive, and the meeting lasted longer than scheduled, from an hour to 90 minutes, but it's still not known whether the countries are any closer to a deal. The meeting comes after Ottawa announced last week it would lift retaliatory tariffs on some American goods. For the second day, massive nationwide protests took place across Israel, with families of the hostages calling for the release of their loved ones and an end to the war in Gaza. This as international pressure continues to mount on both sides to reach a ceasefire deal as the humanitarian crisis in the enclave worsens. CTV's Heather Wright reports.
On a highway outside of Tel Aviv, protesters burned tires, blocked traffic, and demanded an end to the war in Gaza.
Accept the deal that's on the table to end the bloodshed that's going on.
These protests are the largest anti-war demonstrations to take place in Israel since the Hamas-led attacks of October 7th, which triggered the war in Gaza. They come as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu faces mounting pressure, both at home and abroad, over the deteriorating situation in the enclave. On Monday, Israel struck one of the only functioning hospitals in southern Gaza, then hit the facility a second time as journalists and rescue workers rushed to the scene. At least 20 people were killed, including 5 journalists. Israel says the strike was targeting a Hamas camera and will investigate what happened.
And I've worked in that hospital.
Nicole Lessard spent May, June, and July working in Gaza as a nurse with Médecins Sans Frontières. She says the suffering is constant. There's not enough food or medicine, and since Israel handed over aid distribution to the U.S.-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, getting aid can be deadly.
When the sites made an announcement they were going to open for food distribution, we would shortly receive mass casualties to the hospital. They keep the doors closed and then open them, people rush in. The food is dropped in the center, and it's basically like a fight to the death.
As Israel pushes ahead with its military offensive in Gaza City, there are not only fears in Gaza, but in Israel as well, with approximately 20 living hostages still being held in the enclave.
The Prime Minister has really gone rogue now. He's going against his chief of staff. He's going against the hostage families. He's going entirely against the international community.
Today, the United Nations demanded that Israel's investigation into the killing of journalists at Nasser Hospital comes with accountability, noting that over 270 journalists have been killed in Gaza since the war began. Heather Wright, CTV News.
This is unacceptable.
Heavy rain and flash flooding have washed away homes in parts of Kashmir. At least 65 people have been killed in the flooding. Tens of thousands of people in Pakistan had to flee their homes after India warned it was releasing water from overflowing dams and rivers into low-lying areas along the border. Well, there has been record-breaking temperatures in British Columbia and now a heat warning, and across that province, 4 wildfires are out of control.
We do have this warming, drying condition, which is very unique for late August after a period of extended drought in the summer. So our fuels are very susceptible to ignition and spread.
One of the fires in BC's Fraser Canyon has prompted evacuation alerts. BC's Wildfire Service suspects at least one of the fires was human-caused. It's urging people to exercise fire safety. Singing superstar Taylor Swift just said yes to her love story with NFL tight end Travis Kelce. The couple shared these snapshots on social media announcing their engagement with joint posts captioned, "Your English teacher and gym teacher are getting married." The pair's real-life rom-com began when Kelce tried to give Swift a friendship bracelet during her Eras tour. The couple has been dating for 2 years. There is no word yet on when exactly they'll tie the knot. Coming up, the cost of tariffs in the grocery aisle and beyond.
The price of coffee beans went up considerably the minute the tariffs hit.
Businesses weigh in on the impact and what could change as Canada lifts retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods.
No.
Not much in the way of needed precipitation in the long-range forecast in the Winnipeg area. It will be sunny, will be quite warm too. Thursday 25, 27 on Friday. Then we get into the long weekend. Now take a look at this. All 3 days sunny, all 3 days very warm with hot highs in the upper 20s. I want to point out Monday, not only is it Labor Day, it's also the first day of September, which means it's the first day of meteorological fall. That's the months of September, October, and November, but it won't feel like it with that hot high.
Have a news tip? When you see news happening, let CTV News Winnipeg know. Text your tips, pictures, and videos to 10400. That's 10400. Message and data rates may apply.
Turning now to the latest on the trade war and Canada's decision to lift most retaliatory tariffs on most U.S. goods. It's bringing relief to shoppers who could soon start to see prices drop, particularly at the grocery store. CTV's Dave Charbonneau reports from Ottawa.
Did you find everything you were looking for? Yeah.
At Cedars & Co. Food Market on Bank Street, they've had to shift away from offering American produce and goods.
We have had to transition because of the tariffs.
Back in March, the Carney government imposed counter tariffs on a long list of American goods, including coffee and tea, orange juice, tires, shoes, and electronics.
When the tariffs came in, we saw a huge rise on dry goods as well as product lines in the produce area. So from anything that came in from the United States, oranges went up significantly up in price. So we transitioned. South Africa, Argentina, Ecuador, Portugal, Morocco. I like to know where my products come from.
With Canada set to lift tariffs September 1st, businesses and shoppers are counting on lower prices.
I would say 90% of our clients have boycotted U.S. goods, and they are relying solely on Canadian goods.
They support local businesses, Canadian businesses, and try to avoid unnecessary tariffs where they apply.
I want to support the local producers. The people who are doing all the work, I want to support them on the Canadian side.
At Capital Furniture and Mattress, owner Nadia Gadban says tariffs have hurt sales.
They've slowed down business for sure.
But come September 1st, Gadban plans to cut prices.
We are going to drop our prices back down by 15% so that we're back to the norm that we were because customers have noticed the sudden increase. So this is our Canadian brand.
But when it comes to mattresses, customers here also buying Canadian.
Our business has gone up 25% since the tariffs were implemented because people have stopped buying the American brand.
The price of coffee beans went up considerably the minute the tariffs hit.
Back at Cedars & Co., Dibs says she might consider U.S. goods again, but only as a last resort.
So if the produce significantly comes down in price and we need to adjust and we cannot find it in other countries, diverse countries, we will definitely have to fall back on the U.S.
Dave Charbonneau, CTV News.
CTV Skywatch weather brought to you by South Beach Casino and Resort. Visit southbeachcasino.ca.
Colleen Brady back now with your complete Skywatch forecast, and summer's making a last-ditch run as we head into the long weekend. I love it.
Yeah, right into Labor Day. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of precipitation that will be coming throughout the week, but enjoy the sunshine and those temperatures while they last. I know some folks are ready to flip the page and head straight into fall. That will come soon enough, but the night ahead will be a nice night here in the south. We had a very warm day today. Temperatures up in the upper 20s. It will be a reasonably warm night this evening, and then we'll see some temperatures drop off quite a bit this evening, even more so in parts of the north. But as I showed you earlier, pretty clear for the most part. A little bit of cloud picking up lightly out in the southwest there. Meanwhile, earlier today, there was a low pressure system that started well northwest of Manitoba out over Great Slave Lake. It slid into the province around midday or so, and it brought a little bit of rain to places like Churchill. It's moving through Gillam now. Island Lake, there's a chance you could see some of that yet tonight, although the sun is shining there. Thompson can't rule out showers tonight too, but there's also a cold front associated with this low, and as it slumps southward, it could trigger thunderstorms in the north tonight. But even overnight, it's an outside possibility. We could see showers overnight here in the southeast and over the border into northwestern Ontario, but the bulk of that rain will slide off into northern Ontario. Into Wednesday morning, we go bright and sunny across the southern part of the province. More mixed conditions across the north, but what will be different tomorrow, very strong north winds in behind that cold front once it it passes through, we will get those wind gusts up out of the north across the south. It won't do much to mitigate the temperatures, though. You'll see the forecast eyes still quite warm for this time of year, but you can see late tomorrow afternoon sunshine all across Manitoba and east into Ontario as well for the most part. Clear skies overnight, taking us into Thursday, where it will be another sunny day over our region. For tonight for Winnipeg, we drop down to around 15 degrees along the way. Dry this evening, light winds. It's overnight where there is at least a chance anyway. We could see showers. Outside chance of a thunderstorm, even showers, pretty outside chance there, but we can't rule it out entirely. 17 degrees for the commute tomorrow morning. Wednesday, mix of sun and cloud, light winds out of the west, and there are those north winds strengthening, 20 kilometers an hour at times with wind gusts up to 40. Still a high of 26 is a good 3-4 degrees above normal now for this time of year. There is that low chance of showers popping up tomorrow afternoon. 6 is the UV index for Winnipeg tomorrow. That's high. Now, Churchill, the showers have already gone through. They will end soon for Gillam. Island Lake likely moving into your region, possibly into Thompson as well. 10 overnight there. Mix of sun and cloud for most areas tomorrow. 20 for Thompson, 17 for Island Lake. You may well see some showers tomorrow morning in the Island Lake area. Small chance of showers or low chance across the northwest tonight. Overnight lows between 10 and 14 degrees. Partly cloudy, lots of sunshine around the region tomorrow. Temperatures as warm as 25 around Flin Flon and the Paw. Further south tonight, Brandon, Dauphin, all surrounding areas 10, 11 degrees, partly cloudy. And then tomorrow, low chance of afternoon showers, but another hot day with highs right around 28 degrees. Winnipeg and the southeast tonight, overnight lows 14, 15 degrees for most of us. Chance of overnight showers, and then again, a chance of afternoon showers tomorrow with highs up to 26 and 27. And in northwestern Ontario, varying amounts of cloud tonight. And then tomorrow, chance of showers really around the region. Best chance of more sunshine, though, is around Kenora with a warm high of 26. Our first weather photo takes us out to the Dauphin area, and a look at that beautiful rainbow. That photo is from Jason, and Phil says the canola, well, it's ready to be harvested at the Barclay Farm out in Darlingford. Email us your weather photos to winnipegweather@ctv.ca.
Between social media trends and wellness advice from friends, it can be tough to separate health fact from fiction.
Many of these additives are not good for us, and they feed into the craving.
When we return 5 tried and true ways you can start taking your health into your own hands. Despite threatening wildfires and an Air Canada strike, Manitoba athletes shined at the 2025 Canada Summer Games. Team Toba returned home with 34 medals in all, 12 gold, 10 silver, and 12 bronze. And joining me now to talk more about that performance is Senior Games Manager Drew Todd. Drew, welcome home.
Thanks. Yeah, it was a long month, but it's nice to be back in Winnipeg.
You know, 34 medals, not a bad haul for our local athletes. I'm curious how this year's performance compares to past years for our province.
Yeah, it's a good question. I was just taking a look through some of the historical data, and I would say we're kind of right on par with what we're used to. We've had a few outliers. Usually when we host our home games, and sometimes a little bit of dips, but we're a few little, I'd say 3 less than what we had in Niagara. But when you look across the board at our results, kind of not just at the top 3 finishers, but top to bottom, every athlete we sent, we did a pretty decent showing. So we're okay with that for sure.
All right, let's talk about some of the standout performances over the 2 weeks of competition, because I know there was definitely a few of those.
Yeah, for sure. I think just starting off with our 2 flag bearers, one for the opening ceremony and closing ceremony. So Luke Enns started things off for us in canoe kayak, and he brought home 2 medals, which is really great because being that opening ceremony's flag bearer does carry a lot of weight to it, a lot of pressure, but he definitely rose to the occasion, helped us out. Then on the flip side, with Soren Westlake in cycling. He brought home a gold in mountain bike and then a bronze in road cycling. So the probably terrible joke I was making with him when we selected him there was Manitoba is not exactly known for mountains. And when they talk about our roads, they more talk about our potholes than anything. So maybe he can help kind of change the narrative there. But it wasn't just those 2. Maxine Lavitt in swimming brought home 5 medals, which was amazing. Dax Turner came back for his second games, brought us 2 medals in athletics. So we had a lot of athletes that kind of stood out and really made us proud here to be from Manitoba.
Any upsets or big surprises that we didn't expect?
I think our women's volleyball team, they had been coming off a string of gold medals, but this year just because of the days that it worked, and maybe because we're almost too good in volleyball, we had a lot of athletes that had commitments to universities down south, national team commitments, that kind of thing. So they weren't really going in with those same gold medal expectations, but they performed, incredibly. They got to the semifinals and 5th set there, and they unfortunately came out on the wrong side there, but they really brought it for a team that was sort of expected to have a bit of an off year and still finished in the top 4.
Interesting you bring that up, because I know these games are so important to future accomplishments in sports for these athletes. Can you tell us a bit about what kind of doors a gold medal or a strong performance at these games can open for these athletes?
Absolutely. I mean, it's, first off, I'd say a multi-sport games, it only comes around every 4 years. So sometimes athletes don't get the opportunity to attend them, but if they do, it can be huge for them going forward. Once they kind of get onto those national teams, we don't want the Olympic Games to be the first time an athlete is in a multi-sport games, getting used to all the stress, the pressures, all the different commitments that come from a basic single sport competition or tournament. So it's a great experience in that respect along the pathway. And then I think just the other thing is you just look at the background and you see all the athletes that have come through. Sidney Crosby, Caton Laws, Cindy Clausen. Clearly, this is a very rare opportunity for all the best athletes in the country to get together at the same time. So there's scouts there in place that maybe aren't always able to come to all tournaments. People see the results, see the media gets a little bit more engaged with something like this, and you get a little bit more notoriety to hopefully propel you into some of these extra next generation programs.
Now, I know these games also foster a real sense of provincial pride. I've been watching all kinds of videos shared over the past 2 weeks of Manitoba athletes, proudly waving our province's flag after a big victory. Any examples of this that stand out over the 2 weeks you witnessed that you can share with us?
You know what, I would probably look at our pep rallies each week. That's the best one there. I know it's been a little bit challenging for fans to get out to Newfoundland based on a number of different incidents, but within our athletes and coaching community there on the Rock, they were pumped, they were psyched. Each week we do a pep rally where we get every single athlete together and every team is responsible for a team cheer. And just seeing some of the creativity, ingenuity, everybody going crazy for whether it's sailing, golf, soccer, volleyball, they're pumped up and they're ready to be proud Manitobans there. So it was a really fun time.
Well, a huge congratulations to all the Manitoba athletes who competed, represented our province. You made us all very proud. Drew, thanks for sharing some of the highlights with us and letting us be part of the team. It was great speaking with you again.
Yeah, thanks for having me and thanks for following along.
We've heard about the benefits of the Mediterranean diet when it comes to reducing the risk of dementia, and now we're hearing about how it can help with diabetes. A new study finds people who switched to a low-calorie Mediterranean diet and engaged in moderate daily exercise while also receiving professional weight loss support had a 31% lower risk of developing type 2 diabetes than those who only followed the diet. The research is part of an ongoing 8-year randomized clinical trial in Spain. All 6,800 participants in the trial were overweight or obese, and while no one was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes at the start of the study, all participants had metabolic syndrome defined as high blood pressure, high blood sugar, altered cholesterol, and excess fat around the waist. When it comes to health, there's no shortage of quick fixes and fads, but experts say to focus on wellness in the long term.
It's just an approach and ways of integrating into daily life that can help with your mental, physical health, and overall well-being.
Dr. Wynne Armand with Mass General Brigham says there are 5 proven ways to start improving your health now. First, make a mindfulness a daily habit. That means intentional focus on the present moment. She says it can help with anxiety as well as focus and concentration. Next, you should prioritize quality sleep. Armand views sleep as medicine, helping to reduce stress while promoting healthy eating, concentration, and performance. Third, choose whole foods. She says diets rich in vegetables and legumes without being processed support longevity and vitality.
Many of these additives are not good for us, and they feed into the craving and it makes it easier to overeat.
Fourth, move more, sit less. Armand says exercise isn't limited to the gym. Incorporate it into your life like walking, And finally, protect against toxins by swapping out plastics in your kitchen.
Medical Watch is brought to you by Manukin Koster Denture Clinic.
Jets fans and foodies, stick around. We've got an early look at some upcoming events to delight the senses and the stomach. Spotlight is next.
Spotlight, sponsored by the Casinos of Winnipeg, presenting Tom Papa.
It is a chance to get a first look at new and returning stars for the Manitoba Moose and Winnipeg Jets. Free tickets go on sale tomorrow for FanFest. The annual tradition kicks off the 2025-26 hockey season. You can attend one of 2 on-ice training camp sessions. The day also features interactive games, inflatables, and a ball hockey rink. You can win memorabilia and get your gear signed at autograph sessions. FanFest takes place on Saturday, September 20th at the Hockey for All Centre near Portage Avenue in the West Perimeter. Tickets are free, available tomorrow morning through the Winnipeg Jets website. Well, where else can you find close to 20 of Winnipeg's top restaurants all in one place? A Taste of Manitoba is back. The food festival was a favorite back in the 80s and 90s when it took place in Memorial Park. Well, it's back, this time at Fort Gibraltar in St. Boniface. You can try food from 19 different restaurants, including Indian, Filipino, and pub food. It's an opportunity for local businesses to share their best dishes and help restaurants dealing with years of challenges.
COVID, and then after COVID hit, there was labor shortages and then inflation and all this stuff going on. I think this is a really good event to be able to bring restaurants together and, showcase their dishes to people who may not have even known that they existed.
There's also a vendor village and live music. A Taste of Manitoba runs August 28th through September 1st. Admission is free, but you need to buy tickets to sample all the great food. Visit tasteofmb.com. Well, they're decking the halls over at Portage Place, and no, it's not very early Christmas decorations you're seeing. The mall in downtown Winnipeg is being used as one of the sets for Violent Night 2. The first movie was a campy action comedy that sees a disgruntled Santa Claus do battle with a team of mercenaries who take a wealthy family hostage. The sequel is set for theatrical release in December. This is pretty cool. A legendary on-screen friendship reunited by taking in a Vancouver Canadians minor league baseball game.
Hey, so we
Classic. Matthew Broderick and Alan Ruck, who famously teamed up as best friends in the 1986 classic Ferris Bueller's Day Off, were spotted at the ball game this weekend. Instead of heckling batters, the duo led the crowd in Take Me Out to the Ball Game. The two are in Vancouver, teaming up once again, shooting a new movie titled The Best Is Yet to Come. Your primetime lineup starts tonight at 7 with back-to-back episodes of The Big Bang Theory. At 8, it's Battle of the Generations, and the competition stays hot at 9 with The Amazing Race Canada. Then round out your evening with E-Talk at 10:30.
I just think that the community loves this sign so much, and I'm just happy that we're a part of it.
It took a beating, but the Garbage Hill sign is standing proud once again thanks to some help from the community. That story's still ahead.
Women's clothing provided by RW & Company. Salon services provided by Essentique Spa Salon.
Still very warm out there, 27 degrees under a mix of sun and cloud in Winnipeg. With the Humidex, it feels more like 31. Winds just 13 kilometers an hour coming out of the west. And the high temperature today was 27, well above normal. But the record for this day, 1985, 36.5 degrees. Tonight, there's a low chance of overnight showers down to 15. North winds tomorrow afternoon, but it will still be very warm, 26 degrees under a mix of sun and cloud. Sunny Thursday, 25, getting oh so close to the long weekend Friday, 27 degrees, a mix of sun and cloud. Saturday, Sunday, and Labor Day Monday merrily. All 3 days sunny, all 3 days very warm with hot highs in the upper 20s.
All right, thanks, Colleen. A local landmark is looking a little less trashy tonight.
I think I ran a few back to back.
The team from SRS Signs put its skills to work to patch up the beloved Garbage Hill sign. The sign became damaged recently. A few of the letters were even in pieces and falling apart.
I was saying earlier that in the 5 years that it's been up, it's only been damaged twice. So I just really feel like the community likes it as much as I do, and they seem to be taking good care of it.
Such good care of it, in fact, that when SRS showed up to make the repairs, they found someone had already started putting the sign back together.
So I started Friday night and came on Monday to finish details. I had the sign all up and just some supporting things, and then I ran to them on the hill. I had no idea they were going to do it. You know, I should have called. I know that they're involved and they care about it. So should have given them a call in the first place. But fantastic to see what's going on now.
Rest assured, the iconic sign is back in pristine condition tonight, keeping a watchful eye on the neighborhood. Looks brand new.
It does. I was going to say, it looks shiny and new.
Yeah, great work
Good
by
job.
all involved.
Yes.
All right, that does it for us tonight. Have a great evening. We'll see you back here tomorrow at 6.